Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Saturday, September 20th. Grab your popcorn. Russia just speed ran Poke the Bear, NATO edition. 19 drones in Polish skies, 3 MiGs joyriding Estonia, 2 Article 4 calls in a week. NATO's patience is cooked. Meanwhile, Putin's got $9 gas lines, torched refineries, and a war budget eating pensions. In the US, 2.2 billion in AI drones drop for Ukraine, while Trump's administration admits Russia's losing. This is Ukraine Update, where we roast Kremlin spin and cheer the wins. I'm your host, Slavi. Let's kick it to the Shills host. Hi, Dick. How's it going today?
I'm still not 100% with bugs and stuff and whatnot, and with CDC in America and stuff, and I'm pretty close to the border. I'm getting a little concerned how often I'm going to start feeling like crap, but lots to dig into as it pertains to Ukraine's situation right now. So good chat to be had here coming up for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you feel better soon.
Thanks.
Commander Macmillan, how's it going?
Pretty good. I'll echo Dick's comments. I had the same intestinal issue pop up with me. I can't help but wonder if there isn't some sort of bug going up and down the coast right now.
I think we might be trading it through Discord or something, dude.
I was going to say, must be that YouTube bug.
It's a YouTube conspiracy.
And Johnny, welcome. How's it going?
I'm healthy, thank God. I wish you guys to get well very soon. We need you on board 100%, but I know you're gonna give it all anyway. Russia is burning thanks to coordinated and dedicated effort by Ukrainian strategic operations targeting all the major and important nodes in the oil industry in Russia, which is reported to be crumbling right now. So that's good news, and hopefully we'll get into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we do, last night Russia did attack Ukraine with 800 more drones and missiles, hitting Kyiv, Odessa, Sumy, Kherson, Civilians were killed and infrastructure was damaged. That's the most ever, 800 plus drones and missiles.
Mhm. That's massive number. Holy.
Yeah. Their tactics to do that was to overwhelm the Ukrainian defenses. But air defenses did down about 94% and jammed it. But don't forget, when Ukraine does shoot down the drones, still gotta come down, the debris. So what goes up must come down.
Yeah.
Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Shmyhal, he said that, well, Ukraine is doing pretty good at shooting these drones down, so less and less effectiveness Russia has. But he says Ukraine is moving towards launching 1,000 of interceptor drones per day. So we are on that track of basically neutralizing all of these terrorist tactics, that the last kind of card that Russia has to play at this point. Also
Russia aims to put 2,000 drones that came out. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but 2,000 drone swarms by November. And it's been extremely worrying because it's around the Zaporozhye nuclear plant, and everyone's worried about that because it's not like Russia is very careful with their drones.
Very true.
They're very uncareful by design. This is their, terrorist tactic of scaring and killing the regular people. Russia believe that if they do enough of terrorism, then regular Ukrainians, they will go to the streets and demand Zelensky to stop this war. Russian wet dreams. Somehow it has a different effect. People don't want, Russia to win, and for people who are throwing drones to actually come in and do whatever they want within the Ukraine. So somehow that has a reverse effect on Ukrainians.
That's pretty standard historically. That kind of strategic bombing typically ends up boosting national resolve rather than lessening it.
But Russia is so adamant and continuing that. And at the same time, we can see that they have no other card left to play. And they'll just continue terrorism. Can I read you some of the things that... sorry, Commander.
I was going to say, that's what you said is very true, because increasingly they use these tactics, infantry infiltration tactics on the front lines. And the Ukrainian army has done a very good job about figuring out how to effectively stop that kind of tactic. So yeah, it's getting increasingly that the only way they can strike Ukraine now is just by throwing massive numbers of drones and missiles. And most of it's drones because the missiles are too expensive for them to produce in quantity.
There have been a number of attacks by Ukraine on Russian oil infrastructure, and I read about 20 of them, and I'm just going to list or name a few. Major oil crisis in Russia, a shortage of gasoline right now. Russia says it's because of the vacation season. People are vacationing too much in Russia. The official channels do not admit that it's because of Ukrainian. So oil refinery in Bashkortostan was hit. It's about 1,400 kilometers from Ukrainian border, very, very far. Ukraine hits a key Russian fuel node twice in this week, and that's the node that pumps fuel in all the pipelines. So sometimes Ukraine hits pipelines, but sometimes they hit a pumping station, so the pipeline doesn't pump. And actually, it's a big problem. If you don't pump that oil, it creates all kinds of problems in the pipeline as well. which is easy to fix in the peaceful times. But there was a country that started a war recently, so that's a big problem right now.
That's a
Ukrainian
cumulative problem for them because they only have so much storage at the pumping side. So the longer the pipelines or the pumping stations are out, the more that they're already going to be at full capacity in the storage facilities. So basically they have to stop, extracting petroleum
Right.
because they haven't got anywhere to store it.
Exactly right. Another awesome thing happened. We talked about Primorsk. That's the port that sends the oil out. But two of the ships with oil were hit this week. It's a part of Russian Shadow Fleet. And basically what they do is they registered under different flags like Netherlands or like Denmark or something friendly. And then they ship it all the way to like India or something. So Ukraine is like putting sanctions on it. They basically hit it with drones. Two separate train derailments occurred near St. Petersburg. It's all this week, September 14th, following coordinated sabotage operations of Ukraine's military intelligence. They took responsibility for that. You have to understand that all of this is happening. All Russia is burning. There's tons of videos and footage of this and like zero casualties. Ukraine is just striking only what needs to be struck. They are not interested in killing random Russians or doing any terrorism. Oil refinery in Samara is burning. Great video of that online. The locals in the area are filming videos. Some of them will go to jail for this because that's how Russian, legislature works over there.
America's on their heels right now, so.
The governor of Perm region reports a drone attack on the city Gubaka in that region, which is located 1,600 kilometers from Ukrainian border. The target was a Meta-Frax chemical plant. I guess that's where they make some of the powder for their drones or something. And again, the Ukraine's main intelligence, HUR, took responsibility for the attack. Massive fire in Feodosia, Crimea. Again, this is the Battle of Crimea, as we discussed last week, started. This is part of that tactic. They still left the bridge. It's not too late to leave. Russians, please cut your vacation short. Leave Crimea while you still can. Fire in Balashika.
That's a terrible time of year.
Yeah, go where there's no smoke. You see the clear area?
Yeah.
No smoke? Go in that direction. Fire in Balashika, Moscow region. A warehouse is burning. Explosions are heard. Some of the Moscovites have great videos of that. Okay, I know Slavi was going to talk about it, so I'll just briefly mention it. Kirishi Nefti Org Synthesis, that's the second largest oil refinery in the country, massively hit. They produce 6.4% of all of the Russian oil, burning like crazy. All of the operations are stopped over there. They produce 17.7 million metric tons per year, 355,000 barrels per day. Basically, they're losing $100 million per day just from that one facility because it's not working right now.
It's like a big old birthday party, and they're using huge candles.
It's like, it's like the candles are. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. There's more. I think you guys get the idea. All of this started in August. It's all kind of confirmed by the. I think Trump knows about it. The Western allies know about it because Trump kind of said, "Oh, it's gonna happen." There were some statements about Trump that kind of confirmed this. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Some good news to start the day.
Yeah. Lots of fires, lots of burning, very much so. We should have, had a background of a fire going during that. I wonder if I got one we could have used, right? I'll look in the background. Next time we'll have a campfire or something going in the back to announce all the burning places.
Remember that guy? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, the other thing I find interesting that you haven't talked about, you're talking about what I would call strategic attacks, on the Russian oil infrastructure. In the past week, there have been a number of tactical strikes in the Russian rear areas. So brigade or divisional or even corps level supply depots being hit and massive secondary detonations. So that's cutting off access to ammunition, repair facilities, all that kind of stuff at the front. And I think that's starting to translate into the Russians having kind of an inability at the front lines to do much, because if you go through International Institute for Study of Warfare, they list each sector along the front and say, whether the Russians advanced or withdrew or what have you. And this past week, there have only been like 2 or 3 areas that they've had very limited advances. All other sectors of the front, it's, no confirmed Russian advances anywhere. I think a lot of that is because they simply lack the logistics to conduct effective offensive actions in those sectors because of these tactical hits along the Russian rear areas.
Commander, we actually have a question coming in for you on this topic.
Sure.
Gen Consensus says, so today Chuck Fair on Kiev Post YouTube says more Russian soldiers are deserting and committing mutiny and fragging their officers. Commander Macmillan, do you agree with this assessment? Maybe exaggerated?
I think it's exaggerated, but it's not inaccurate. The numbers are going up, but it's not, a sudden surge or anything. It's a gradual, slow increase as the troops come to the realization that nobody cares whether they live or die at the front lines, and they'll be sent out to, go clear a minefield by stepping on mines for the boss. And the second part, regarding officers getting fragged and such, there's a lot of truth to that, except for the fact that most Russian officers, even junior Russian officers like lieutenants and captains, are now sitting in headquarters way far away from the front lines where their troops are located. They're kind of conducting the war as if it was Call of Duty or something by remote control, which, as you can imagine, doesn't really work with real people. So most of these attacks are going in with, a corporal or a sergeant as the senior most person in the entire sector of the front trying to control the action. And they don't have the training or, honestly, the equipment to really be able to do that effectively.
Sir, for those of us that don't know, what does fragged mean?
Frag is it's a contraction of the word fragmentation, and it refers to a fragmentation grenade as opposed to a smoke grenade or whatever. And it came from U.S. experience in Vietnam, where officers or NCOs who were very disliked, the troops would throw a fragmentation grenade into their tent at night to kill them, so that, they'd get a pause in being ordered to do stupid things until the next guy got sent up to the front to replace them.
I saw a video of it was Ukrainian soldiers in trenches, and Russia threw some kind of gas thing and started gassing Ukrainian soldiers out of their trenches.
There's been a lot of reports about that, and it's a hard thing to identify because different countries categorize different types of chemical weapons differently. So, for example, the U.S. does not consider tear gas to be a chemical weapon. It's an irritant, as they call it. So it won't kill people per se, but you can throw it in to encourage them to exit a space. And the Russians, for example, and they did this, there was a very famous case of a bunch of, I think it was Chechen rebels seizing a theater in Moscow. And so the FSB threw in not chemical weapons, but irritants to encourage them to surrender. What it was a hallucinogenic. Seriously, and it basically had about a 50% kill rate.
Ooh.
Yeah, because people's nervous systems would shut down because, the brain was going off to La La Land or something.
Wow.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying is the Russians may not see themselves as being accused of using chemical weapons because they don't categorize the certain device that they're using as being a chemical weapon.
Right.
And before anybody says, well, that's obviously, yeah, the trouble is international law really is kind of vague on what an actual chemical weapon is as opposed to an irritant or what have you. So there's a lot of wiggle room in there for people who want to exploit the game for their own devices.
At that time when that horrible thing happened, like more than 200 people died.
Yeah.
When Russians went into that theater and kind of stopped the attack, some people just fell asleep, never woken up, and Putin was criticized by opposition at that time because some of the Russian high officials, they already made the deal with those Chechens, the terrorists, so to speak, to go in and trade themselves for the children in the audience there, for the children, regular civilians. And they made a deal. And Nemtsov was a Russian oppositioner. He was speaking about that. So Putin was watching that the ratings of some of those politicians in oppositions, they started going up. And he said, go in right away. And like they went in, they killed all those guys. Lots of civilians died. Over 200 people died. There was absolutely no need for that. But that goes to the mentality of Putin. He only cares about his rating. He doesn't care about people at all. He's a KGB officer. KGB is an intelligence thing of like Soviet Union, now FSB, it's called in Russia. And their main thing is to disregard human life and actually view humans as resource, as a means to achieve certain goals. They're trained to use people and casualties to achieve tactical advantage and strategical advances and achieve strategical goals. So I'm kind of glad you brought that up. I was studying that incident on a discussion that some people say Putin loves Russia and loves his people. He's a loving. That goes against his whole psychology.
Yeah, I mean, if he wouldn't,
you're a statistic as far as he's concerned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And your meat to go into the meat grinder.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we continue what Commander Macmillan started saying? Because Russia does have problems at the front lines. They have problems containing Ukraine. And the report that I have, and Mr. D, you actually have the graphic over there, right there. So Ukrainian armed forces are encircling 5 Russian brigades near Pokrovsk. So we need Commander Macmillan to kind of break it down for us, because to some people it's like a number, but that's actually huge. The Dobroglia offensive is turning into a trap for the Russians. So we already seen that happening before. Now it's the second act. The Ukrainian armed forces have cleared Pankivka and are continuing their advance, and it's posing threat of encirclement to 5 Russian brigades. So this offensive near Dobroglia was loudly proclaimed by Z propaganda, by Russian mill bloggers, that they say, oh my God, Ukraine is about to fall. It's turning into like the war is about to end. And again, it's rapidly turning into another failure. Units of the Ukrainian armed forces and the 1st Azov Brigade of the National Guard have cleared the village, and more importantly, have continued their movement. So again, it's a very dangerous situation for Russia. Again, it's not like it's not a win of Ukraine. It's not a win of Russia. It's a very, very dangerous situation for Russia, and it's another iteration where this is going to be a huge hit to Russian confidence on the battlefield, because they've been saying, oh my God, we're winning. Now they're losing. They're losing lots of people. 1,000 people per day are being killed over there on the front lines. Commander Macmillan, can you tell us, what does it mean, 5 brigades? That number is huge.
5 brigades. Well, a brigade would have approximately, depending on, type of brigade and how much up to strength it was, I would say between 2,000 to 5,000 personnel. Multiply that by 5, you're talking 25,000 people if it's maximum, about 10,000 if it's the smallest. My understanding is that the offensive was started with 5 brigades in this sector, and what has happened is various smaller units, not fully 5 brigades, but like individual battalions and companies, have been cut off, and the rest of the force been driven back to their start line. So the actual number of troops that are encircled probably isn't 5 brigades, it's maybe closer to 1 or 2. But the other brigades were also badly hurt as they were being driven back. Now, the situation, if you look at the map that's on the screen right now, you'll see that there's 2 sectors where the Russians are encircled. The Ukrainian forces that have cut them off are similarly in a dangerous position, because they now not only have to watch what's going on back on the Russian side of the main line, they also have to worry about breakout attempts by the guys who were encircled. So it's a good but potentially dangerous situation for the Ukrainians to have put the Russians in, if that makes any sense.
That makes perfect sense. And I think in combination with the strikes behind the enemy lines that Ukraine was able to so effectively do this week, that made this possible. And I don't think Russians really took that into account when they were doing this huge offensive that they were so happy about, and kind of proclaiming that, we're winning, Ukraine is losing. A lot of Americans over here in the United States, especially like the right-leaning and kind of MAGA adjacent, have been saying, oh, sadly, Ukraine is losing just because of this whole operation. But again, as they said in the 70s, it ain't over till it's over, and it looks like it might be over for Russia at some point.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was a planned counteroffensive or if this was a situation that just happened to pop up. My suspicion is it's the latter, and the Ukrainian army brilliantly exploited the situation, trying to set up an actual situation where you lure the Russians into exposing themselves in this kind of salient is unlikely, considered the level of intelligence collection that the drones provide. If you're staging forces for a counterattack, they're going to know that they're there.
But wouldn't you agree, Commander Macmillan, that psychologically, to a Russian, it might feel like this was staged by Ukraine, and it could have the same consequences for their confidence on the battlefield in the future, which already their confidence took a huge hit from previous action?
Oh, definitely. And we know that once these units get cut off like this, the number of dependable officers, security personnel, etc., that monitor the troops and keep them, obedient, they don't have access to those areas anymore. So the likelihood of people deserting, surrendering en masse goes way up when that happens. And we know that's happened in a couple situations where almost entire companies, so that's like, 150 Russian troops will surrender en masse because there's nobody there in the unit to tell them, no, you can't, or I'm going to shoot you.
And that actually started happening. I don't have that news in front of me. Slavi, did you run across that? Russians surrendering en masse just because of all these actions. There was lots of surrender in the last week. Did you run across that? Just off the top of your head, did you see that?
I don't know. I thought you were the host all of a sudden, so you should have all the talking points.
Meow.
Okay. There was a total bomb out of the stream for a second there with some serious lag. And somehow I have network congestion is what OBS is telling me. And yet I have fiber to the home. There's just no way I can't have enough speed. So I don't know what's up. Well, hopefully it holds together.
It's one of those days.
It is. Literally everything I do falls apart. Reach for a glass, knock it over instead. Though it's just one of those days. Oh, well. Okay. Sorry. Anyway. We do have a couple of shout outs we can do here quick.
Questions as well.
Yeah. So Logos Fabula, great name, came in with a Shills Master membership. All right. It could be a renew. It could be a new one. YouTube isn't very good with communication. Ask any YouTuber and they'll tell you the same thing. But great to have you in the family. Very cool. And then Petra Olsen came in with 269 Swedish kroners with love to Ukraine. And we shall get that in the funding pot right away. Huge thanks, Petra. And then Niles Knudsen in the chat's gifting out Shills memberships. Huge thanks, Niles. That's a lot of membership action already in this stream. Thanks, everybody. And remember, we've also got, if I can get the page up properly, our Car for Ukraine fundraiser going right now. Slow start for us this time. What are you going to do? The link will be in the live chat. It's probably in the description. I'll double check. And I do believe I could drop it for you right now as well. So, yeah, I'm caught up.
Well, why don't we get caught up with the questions? Question from It Wasn't Me. Does anyone know if the 2 Shadow Fleet tankers hit by Ukraine were full or empty? Thank you all for being a great panel that you are, with a heart.
Thank you. I did not hear anything on whether or not they were laden.
Nope, didn't hear anything either.
Neither
In
have I.
essence, it doesn't really matter because that's not the point. The tanker's job is to transport the fuel. Once it's hit, the fuel is not being delivered. So as far as I know, it was empty, but there was no any kind of report on whether they were empty or full.
It does matter from an environmental impact position. If it's full, that's a lot of oil being dumped into the Black Sea.
True. Well, I think it was Baltic Sea.
Oh, Baltic? Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Next question we have from S. Walsh Gummer. Nordost, it was narcotic mist that they pumped down the theater with. My question is, what's the status of 300 billion and what is the time frame to access and repatriate to Ukraine?
What? Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah.
It's about the 300, as I understand, of Russian frozen assets.
Oh, yeah.
And and I believe EU has started using it in some way. It was supposed to be used by end of summer. Otherwise, it would go back to Russia. But they did something, and they've started using the funds to help with paying for the weapons and stuff like that. But
yeah, with regards to seizure of the Russian funds and assets, it's caught up in a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. They're doing a lot to get that money freed up in order to use it to finance purchases of your equipment for Ukraine. But, you know, it's the Western legal system. What more can you say?
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
The crazy thing is there was a deadline that EU would need to start using the funds, otherwise it would go to Russia. So
And
it was a no-brainer, but they're still.
my recollection, it was end of October when that deadline was going to hit.
I thought it was end of summer. Okay, so it's still coming.
I don't know. I'm just, that's my
Yeah.
recollection. I don't really keep track of the details on that stuff.
yeah. I don't recall myself.
But of course, if it's the end of October, it's still better to do it during the summer.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't drag it till the last second.
Well, the other problem is there's a narrowing window for the conduct of offensive operations right now. Because once you hit the autumn rainy season, basically the front's going to freeze. Nobody can do anything because the conditions are really horrible. And that typically hits, you know, late September, mid-October timeframe.
Mhm.
We have another question coming in from SSW Custom Sewing to Commander Macmillan. It was Delriant that they use similar to Datura and Angel Dust, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the chemical they were using, but it was kind of along those lines. Let's put it this way: if people in the U.S. had access to it, it'd be one of the higher level illegal narcotics that people were trying to pay for. It's dangerous stuff, but yeah, it wipes your brain out basically.
That's so scary. I've never heard of such thing, and that sounds terrifying. I think hallucinating is terrifying on its own, but even
the situation was that they knew they had this, I'll call it munition, that did certain things, but they'd never used it operationally. You know, they tested it on some people, you know, criminals or whatever, but that's in a lab condition. They had no idea what massive amounts of it were going to do if they dumped it into like a theater that had both hostiles and hostages in it. And when they did deploy it, you know, massive number of civilian hostage casualties because they had no idea how this thing was really going to work, and particularly on older people or children who were in the audience.
Crazy.
Yeah. But again, in the Russian FSB mindset, they're just statistics. Who cares? We got the thing done, which was to eliminate the terrorists.
Yeah. Wow.
We killed twice as many innocent civilians doing so. Who cares? They're just meat for the meat grinder.
Terrorists killed much less civilians than the actual liberators, than the good guys.
Wow. That's so
it's not funny.
Yeah, that's so
But you know,
up.
it's up to Russians to kind of call that out. You know, what Russians did after this is they voted for Putin again.
Yeah.
You know,
but I mean, it goes way back. I mean, Stalin is famously quoted as saying, "One death is a tragedy. A million deaths are just a statistic." And that's
Great
the way
quote.
they think. Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable.
We have another question from King Raccoon. Do you think both Bolton and Kellogg almost calling Trump out today is the turning, or just making it easier for Trump to turn?
What is almost calling out Trump? What is that?
There's
almost giving birth.
There are people in Congress who are criticizing some of the administration's actions recently, and I think a lot of it is, I don't know the specific one, but I suspect that there's talking about criticism of the deal that was being arranged to silence Jimmy Kimmel, I think, on late night TV.
Yeah, that's a big one right now.
Yeah, he's fired in order to let a merger go through to consolidate media holdings under one rule, basically.
Yeah, it's those two companies doing a merger, and they own a good majority of the affiliate stations, and that's where the back
something like 80% of all broadcast TV and radio stations will be controlled by one entity in this country.
Yeah. And you know, when the FCC,
we're getting our own propaganda ministry, basically.
Oh yeah, man, and it's all on cash. It's
oh yeah,
you know,
and I think they're being called out on it because even the right wing GOP side are seeing the dangers inherent in this decision, and they're starting to say, "Hey, you know, this isn't right. You can't let this happen." And the more protest that comes out from Congress, the more pressure there's going to be from the administration to shut that down and push these things through faster.
Yeah. I mean, there was some popular angry blonde chick, a hard right media personality podcaster who was flipping out and swearing and stuff over this silencing Kimmel. She's like, we're the Republicans. We don't do this. She was flipping mad.
Also cancel culture. I thought they don't do cancel culture, and all of a sudden, he's canceled. The whole thing, he didn't say anything that bad. It wasn't.
It is. The one thing that authoritarians have no counter to is humor.
Yeah.
So when you get the likes of Fallon or Kimmel or Colbert, who are constantly in their late night TV things just lampooning the administration for all they're worth, it makes the administration look foolish and weak. And there's nothing they can do to stop that except silence these people.
Yeah. Which then makes them look cowardly and yeah.
Right. But even the other side in their own party are seeing the danger in doing this, because the next thing will be, you know, Night of the Long Knives of, well, that guy isn't saying that Trump is, you know, a divine being. He disappears.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where we're headed with this eventually, if it goes to its logical extreme.
Absolutely.
It's free speech for me, but not for thee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good guideline in a free society to not trust anything that doesn't have a sense of humor. Anything that cannot laugh at itself or take a joke should be cautiously approached and denied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, why MAGA is so shocked over Jimmy Kimmel is that he slightly suggested, he didn't even say it, that the murder of Charlie Kirk, it is one of them. That's how he said it. He could be one of them.
Yeah, well, he said the MAGA guys are running around trying to say he's anything but one of them. And in saying that, you can see how somebody could say, oh, you're insinuating he's MAGA. But I think he was just really making fun of MAGA for saying, no, he's a radical left. Before anybody knew anything, they were already saying he was, you know, and I truly don't believe Jimmy meant to say he was MAGA. I think he was just pointing out the panic that MAGA instantly fell into over this to make sure, no, right?
Especially before he wrote, like, just as any human being, he wrote a message on Twitter, and it was, you know, condolences, and, you know, I feel for they're trying to make Jimmy Kimmel pay Charlie Kirk's wife now.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's some absurd amount. It's like $300 million or something. Get real.
That'll go in the bin as fast as his $15 billion suit against the Times did.
But these guys, like these late night guys, the comedians, network TV is dead. And I know they'll get their, powers together, the Hollywood, powers, and do something very big to fire back.
Well, I think what's hilarious is when they did the one where, okay, Colbert's going away, but not for, what was it, 8 months or something. That removed all the shackles. Colbert can now do whatever he wants because there's nothing they can do to stop him.
Yeah.
And he's gotten borderline vicious in his attacks now.
Oh, yeah.
For the rest of them, the Trump administration is now threatening these programs to take away their license to be able to show it on network TV.
Yeah, that crappy that little thing he said when he was on the plane, Air Force One there, they only say bad things about me, so we should just take their licenses away. What?
Which is a reason that the right-wing side is starting to wake up to the danger this causes.
Yeah.
Because if the precedent is set by the president doing this, once you get a liberal in there, he can use the same tactic and shut down Fox News, Breitbart, you name it. All
exactly.
No, we're shutting them down.
Yeah. Let me jump in with a couple of shout outs here. I want to make sure we're caught up because I can't remember where I led off. I think with we'll do it again to make sure. But Niles Knudsen sent in 10 Shills membership, so that's worth a second shout out if it is. I think I did it, but and then David N comes in with a cool message. It's Happy Sunday, everybody. Well, I hope it is happy for everybody, or as happy as it can be. And then Yvonne Way came in with a lovely one. Slava Ukraine. Heroam Slava. Very good shouts, guys. And then I get to do a really big one because Stephen Walsh came in with $130 direct donation. Love you guys. Slava Ukraine. Oh, that was huge, Steve. Wow, I can still feel the gravitational waves of that one hitting. Everybody at LIGO is feeling that one. Huge thanks, man. We'll get that into the Car for Ukraine fund. That's a good place for that one to go. I'm caught up.
All right.
And I just want to say thanks to people who are chipping in to buy that vehicle for Ukraine. Of course, we discuss how Ukraine is doing great on the battlefield and striking Russia all over. But Ukraine is doing all this with very, very limited resources. And this one car is going to have a huge impact on the battlefield for Ukraine. Ukraine needs every car that we can send, every drone, every scope, anything we can send them, they put it to use because they are fighting against a much bigger force with very, very little, and they have to be effective with whatever they can get. This car is going to have a huge, huge impact on the battlefield.
Oh, yeah. Let me, in the background, I'll set up a little video so you can really see them in action here. Hold on. I forgot to have it ready. Yeah. Yeah, it'll take me a second here. I'll scroll through and find it. Let's see here. Okay, time-wise, we're still pretty good. Good. I've got to organize this stuff better. I can never find what I'm looking for. Sometimes I forget to name them, and WhatsApp does that thing. Oh, WhatsApp video, WhatsApp picture. Why can't you just leave it what it was titled when the person sent it to me? I don't need your name in it. It just makes me hate you more,
Technology.
Yeah, just get out of my way. It's going to take me a minute, I think. Oh, what's this one? No. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, we'll move on. Oh, here. I got one. Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Here. Almost. I want to make sure everybody can hear it. Here you go.
Дякуємо Car for Ukraine та Бандеромобіль за організацію збору та підготовку авто. Дякую спільнотам за Shills, а також ATP Geopolitics за підтримку у зборах і самому Діку та Джонатану за активну підтримку. Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Героям слава.
За рідну неньку! Постріл! Постріл! Постріл!
Very nice.
That's why we
Like your own
fundraise.
homemade Katusha to make friends.
Damn right, man.
Let's finance, let's fundraise, let's chip in, guys, whatever you can. Every little thing helps. And you can see Ukrainians are doing so much with so little. This is going to go a long, long way. By the way, Dick, he mentioned the Shills. He mentioned you by name over there. He said, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Ukrainians are always very thankful. That's why it was ridiculous when,
That's
remember
fucking
when
shit in the Oval Office. Yep.
the shit in the Oval Office. Thank you. Exactly what I'm talking about. When they were trying, because Russia keeps repeating it, you know,
Yeah.
Russia doesn't care. They say, Ukrainians never thank you. You always send everything. Did you hear thanks from Ukraine? Never, never.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Zelensky went on record like officially like almost 80 something times, like over 80 times, just officially thanking like European partners, American people, American nation, specifically like politicians, Biden, anyone who was involved. Zelensky would thank. Even on that day, when they were blaming Zelensky that he never said thanks, he was recorded saying thank you to American people on that day.
Yeah.
That's how crazy Russian propaganda is. And that's how crazy it is to hear from our top politicians, top officials in just spewing Russian propaganda unchecked. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Something
By the
that
way,
doesn't get said often enough. This is, to some extent, a unique situation in the history of war where donations from individual people are a major factor in helping finance one side staying into the conflict.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge if you think about it.
It's a whole new way of doing things.
Yeah, and the Russians, that the best they can come up with is they never say thank you.
Yeah,
which we know
exactly.
is BS, but you know, because there's no counter to it. I mean, how many people do you know of that have contributed to the Russian side of the war?
Exactly. You know, and that
From
whole
anywhere.
and that whole thing with thank yous. If you've ever watched a Ukraine fundraising support channel, you've seen video after video after video of the soldiers doing thank you things. You know, they're in the fight of their lives, and they're taking a moment to do a video thanks and stuff because it's that important to them to make sure it's said and done. It's obvious.
Yeah, and there's also videos of them apologizing for not recording a thank you because they were shelled by Russia. Their Starlink was out, and they said, "So sorry, we did not." Because they Ukrainians feel apologetic. They think we should thank you. You know, you spend your money. You know, you donate. It creates huge impact on the battlefield. You know, and why shouldn't we think? Ukrainians feel like we have to thank you. And there's videos of apologizing. Oh, we're so sorry. You know, we were shelled. We didn't have connection. We didn't have internet. You know, sorry, we couldn't record a thank you yesterday, but we're recording it today. There's those videos as well.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest lie.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Seems my computer calmed down. In the background, I was worried the stream was going to crash for a minute there. It was going absolutely crazy. It's just one of those days. Everything I touch turns to coal.
Don't say that. You know, I was thinking about you yesterday when I messed up my sound for the stream that we did with Yorochenko, with Slavi, and I was thinking about you, and I'm like, we should hire Dick to do all this for us. But it was such my fault.
Yeah. No, anytime if there's an issue, get a hold of me just to, help and clarify anytime. I don't mind, I'm
Just
always
a
at home.
whine.
Yeah.
Can we just call you on wine and complain?
That's another service. No, please pick one I already have.
Can we call and cry?
Yeah. You can cry after. Ask before, but cry after. That's fair. That's fair.
Can we call and tell you that we're sad?
Oh no.
Bobby, any next topic we can move to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Before we
descended into humor.
there's quite a bit, but before we do that, I want to shout out a couple of super chats. Thank you so much to Papa Dutch saying it isn't over until Ukraine wins. You're correct. Thank you so much for your support. And Papa Dutch sent 10 Slavy gift membership.
Yeah.
I have a cool
thank you.
video for you guys, a really cool thank you video coming up. And then S. Walsh Gummer coming in with a $50 super chat. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
It's got to be Steven. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Slavi. Keep up the great work and for your channel, content, and virtue. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Big round of applause for everybody for donating and chipping in. Way to go, everybody. All right.
And then we have one more, sorry,
No.
from Papa Dutch for some cheese with Johnny's wine.
Yeah.
What a great joke. See, that's what I'm saying. Our audiences are the best. They're funny. They're witty.
What do you guys think? Should I change his name to Cheddar in the video chat service for when he's talking?
Not quite yet. I'm not whining that much yet. Give me a chance to spread my whining wings.
Yeah.
Before we do that.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Russian airspace violations that spiked tensions with NATO. That's the big story for the last couple of days. But to give you some context, drones, 19 incursions into Poland, 2 downed by jets this was September 10th to 14th, 11 total in Romania, September 15th, 2 Russian jets violated security zone of Polish Metra Baltic oil platform in the Baltic Sea as well. And then 3 MiGs 31s violated Estonian airspace for 12 minutes over Gulf of Finland. And the 5th violation of Estonian airspace in 2025. And it was intercepted by Italian F-35s. And
invited to depart.
Yeah.
And Swedish-Finnish jets as well. I'm guessing it's the Gripens.
Yeah, Saab Griffins, probably.
Yeah. So also NATO's response was Poland activates Article 4 on September 10th. And the first time this week after drone incursions, and then deploys 40,000 troops near Belarus, Estonia, and Poland drills. And then there's a new Eastern Sentry and adds France, Denmark, and Germany and UK gear to the eastern flank. Estonia invokes Article 4 as well on September 19th, and that's the second time this week. Boy, Russia is sure poking that bear, that NATO bear.
Now, the thing that's interesting is the Article 4 discussions have yielded a plan to put in place what they call a drone wall around NATO's border adjoining Russia, Belarus. The trouble is, it's going to take them roughly a year to get that in place. The drone wall is not a physical, Trump builds on the Mexican border. This one may actually be somewhat effective, but it's mostly early warning, jamming devices and backed up in certain sectors, critical areas, with air defenses that can shoot down things that intrude. But as I
In
said,
the
it's going
effort
to take a
of
full
building,
year, probably more, if we're honest with timelines, to get that thing in position.
in
Wow.
the effort of building this war, they contacted Ukraine because Ukraine is doing like all the innovation in this field. The Ukrainian Sting drones that are shooting up into the air once it flies over, and they're changing direction and pursuing and killing that drone. Only Ukraine has that technology right now.
Interceptor
So,
drones.
yeah. So Ukraine, so that's good. That's good for Ukraine. That's good for the end of this war. That's bad for Russia. That's what the Article 4 after the Polish thing. But we don't even know what happened, or did the Article 4 discussions happen after Estonian thing? Because that's the second time in 2 weeks.
Estonia invoked Article 4. We don't know what has come out of that yet. Article 4 is not Article 5. Let's be very clear on that. Article 4 is, there's a problem. We all need to get together and talk about it, what we're going to do. Article 5 is, oh shit, we're at war. We need help.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we haven't transitioned from 4 to 5 yet, thank God. The key here is that the Article 4 takes time to produce results, because it is, as I said, it's a discussion. And NATO is not an authoritarian top-down, one boss at the top says, you do this and this and this and this and this. Everybody has to sit down and come to a consensus on what they want to do to solve a problem. So the 19 drones that across the Polish border, which caused the first invocation of Article 4, that's yielded this concept of we're going to put up this anti-drone wall. So again, it produced a result, but it's going to take a year for that to get into effect. Whether or not the thing with the violation of Estonian airspace by Russian MiGs is going to yield something, I don't know. The reason I say it's may or may not is because you'll notice that the NATO response was already kind of effective. They did intercept the MiGs. They did escort them out of Ukrainian airspace. So NATO already has in place a semi-effective way for dealing with aircraft incursions. But it's still going to require them to probably come up with, okay, we need more aircraft in the area. We need more flying alert status interceptions, so they don't have to take off and scramble to go intercept the aircraft. They're already in the air, so the intercept time is reduced from 10 minutes down to 2 or 3 minutes, kind of thing. That's probably what's going to come out of this most recent Article 4 invocation.
There's a question for you from Yuri.
Sure.
And how long before NATO actually acts on any air threat from Russia?
What do you mean by acts on? I would contend, since we're not at war, what they did, which was intercept Russian MiGs and escort them out of Estonian airspace. They did the same with reacting to the drones that crossed into Polish airspace. They are doing something. Everybody is terrified of crossing that demarcation line between dealing with it from a perspective of we are currently at peace and don't want to transition to war, to the we actively want to go to war with Russia and we're going to provoke them just as much as they're provoking us to cause an incident where we get into World War III. I don't think any sane mind wants us to get to that point, unfortunately for Ukraine.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yes, Ukraine would love it if NATO got actively involved. But crossing into that line of, or that new realm, is fraught with peril that you can't imagine.
Well, they are talking about this, about coordinating attacks, or sorry, taking down Russian drones and missiles over Ukraine. So closing the sky,
Sure.
finally, a fourth year of war. And yeah, finally closing the sky with NATO, I guess.
Right. I mean, I've been saying I thought that was the thing that should have been done, since like 2 days into the whole special military operation, is that NATO should say, okay, well, we're putting in place a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
Yeah.
But everybody's been going, no, we don't want to do that because it must piss off the Russians and then we're at war. Okay, I understand that. But still, as we've seen, the Russians are getting bolder and more aggressive about poking, I won't say the bear because the Russians are the bear.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're not the bear.
No, they're a bear. They're just a starved, old, kind of mentally befuddled bear.
You know how Russia steals everything Ukrainian and then pretends that it's theirs?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? And if you don't know, I'll answer it for you. Do you know what the national animal of Ukraine is?
Honey badger.
No.
Could be. It's probably the bear. I don't know.
I gave, yeah, exactly. I gave you the answer in the question. It's a Ukrainian bear. So it's been our national animal for the longest time, before Russia existed, before Russia took and started calling themselves a bear.
Yeah, but your bear is mentally competent, has actually eaten in the past decade.
Doesn't shit in his own backyard. We got Don Drone in the chat providing a little entertainment for everybody with his obvious knowledge of all things the world. It's impressive to see how wrong somebody can be every time their fingers touch that keyboard. But we've got
about me.
But we've got our little troll snail, and I think I'll just bring him out for the moment. Oh, he's coming for that live chat. Oh, he's coming. He's coming across. He's gonna do it.
This is a troll snail.
Oh,
troll snail. Oh my God.
He got you, Don. He got you. Oh,
right
that's not,
Commander Macmillan.
Yeah. I gotta do a thing where all the hexagons raise up so he's actually hitting the chat properly, right? I gotta fix that, you know.
We lift the hems of our skirts so we don't
Is Commander Macmillan Scottish?
Yeah, technically.
There we go.
Like,
it's called the kilt.
2 generations removed.
It's not a skirt, sir.
Well,
I have a newfound appreciation for Scots, because I watched a show on them, and their history is very much like Ukrainian history. They're very much like Cossacks, and yeah, I love the show, and it's my newfound kind of obsession is to learn their history and draw some parallels there in between.
I don't know about Scots, but I know that Irish people descended from the northern shores of Black Sea, which is Ukraine. So somewhere in those regions, a lot of kind of Ukrainian heritage is kind of traveled to those parts of the world.
Mm.
All right. Well, we have a lot of questions coming in, so why don't we get through them?
Sure.
Question for the panel: how has the power situation in Ukraine been lately? I haven't heard much. Hoping to get good news on that. This is from Kristen McCall.
Could you repeat?
The power situation of the power. Honestly, I haven't heard from my relative complain about it, but they usually, Russia starts attacking the Ukraine's power grids in winter. So something that's going to start.
They'll shift from hitting apartment buildings to hitting electrical transmission stations probably sometime in mid to late October.
And you know, the way that works is the more Ukraine is hitting those stockpiles, the more Ukraine is winning on the battlefront, the less resources and the less possibility Russia has to hit Ukraine. So that's why we've heard less and less of those atrocious strikes on Ukrainian power structure lately, just because Russia has less to spare. So that's some good news, I guess.
Next question from King Raccoon. Will Trump turn on Russia?
Trying to predict what Trump does from 1 minute to the next is near impossible. Speculating what he's going to do tomorrow or next week,
Yeah.
ain't going to work. And I'm making a joke of it, but it's really true. I think his mental state has deteriorated so that he really has no concept of what he's saying at one moment to the next.
It seems it.
But he has his handlers and his staff so scared of him that they're unwilling to intervene and correct him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he says he may start a sentence, you know, Russia is a vile country doing things. Say hi to Vladimir Putin. I always miss Russia. It was a great place, whatever.
Yeah.
So he starts one way, reverts it
And
by
he
the end
sees
of the sentence.
no problem with saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
And his handlers are like, oh, he just said the greatest thing ever. He tied those two concepts together cohesively, and then he goes and says, I heard the professor of English told me I tied the English language like no one else in history, the way I do words. I have the best words, the biggest words. I do have a
I had up in Gordian knots like no one else.
some history for you guys.
Yeah.
I have a quote from Trump from this week, and I think it's kind of cool because he actually does say the right thing here. Trump said, I'm ready to impose tough sanctions on Russia the moment all NATO countries do the same. And when all NATO members stop buying Russian oil, NATO countries must impose tariffs on Chinese goods ranging from 50 to 100%. According to Trump, these measures would undermine China's influence over Russia. He said the purchase of Russian oil by some has been shocking. It greatly weakens your negotiating position and bargaining power over Russia. And a day later, Ukrainian President Zelensky also made a demand of European nations over the purchase of Russian oil and gas. And in the interview to ABC News, he said, we have to stop buying any kind of energy from Russia. Any deals with Russia have to be stopped. We can't have deals if we want to stop Russia. So in a way, Trump does say the right things here and there. I kind of agree with what he's saying. You have to stop buying oil. We've been saying it since the beginning of the war. You're financing the war. You're financing Ukrainian genocide. So yeah, let's hope that comes to fruition.
Mm.
We did have deals being made between Ukraine and United States. So Trump administration this week, huge ones.
Oh.
In the words of Trump, huge. 2.2 billion Pearl package approved. So it's European funded US arms, and it includes anti-drone missiles, and this is the first under the new initiative. So that's 2.2 billion.
Yeah.
Also, this is another very cool thing. US supplies 33,000 AI-controlled drones by year end, and they'll be able to upgrade. Ukraine will be able to upgrade them to swarm tech. So this tech it's battle tested like in Ukraine, but so far there hasn't been tech like that, at least not in the West. And so a Ukrainian company created this tech that's able to, one person can control like 1,000 drones. Before it was one person per.
That's
it's
incredible.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now you know how the story ends is by a million drones lifting up and going into the Kremlin. So now we have the tech to do it.
Yeah.
So Bavovna time.
Yeah, that
The Kremlin is a historical cultural site, so technically you don't want to be attacking it.
oh yeah, okay. But
I'm sorry, I'm playing
Yeah.
my ROE game here.
yeah. Well, I'm no historian, so oops.
It's a
Commander
beautiful
Macmillan,
picture, though,
would
in
you
the
rather?
internet.
I have a
What?
question, Commander Macmillan. Would you rather have $1,000 or watch Kremlin burn?
Hell, I'll go in debt
You know,
$1,000
if
to
we're
see
talking on
that.
a personal level or from a professional level.
Personal. No, we already know the answer. You don't have to answer that.
Well, we have a lot of questions, so why don't we get to that? A question from Tim Moments. Did they saw Trump's speech at the table with UK King, great writers, and Trump reference Orwell? He probably does not even know 1984. No, I don't think so.
You know, he may think Orwell is a fast food franchise or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Here, just before we switch the script and everything here, AI Alchemist did up this little gag for us the other day. You guys got to see this here. Let me make sure the audio comes through for
You
you.
will respect and fear me. I am the supreme leader.
Amazing.
My depends are leaking. I better go back.
Okay, questions then.
Right. Next question from M. Dow. The Rushkins entering Estonia. Do you think they know cars come from Estonia? Thank you. This is from M. Dow.
Cars
Cars?
come from Estonia?
Yes, that's it. The Rushkins entering Estonia. Do you think they know cars come from Estonia?
Yeah, isn't there somebody that sells vehicles in Russia that they're actually like
Made in Estonia?
yeah.
Oh, Lada.
The Lada? Okay.
I don't think Lada. Not Lada. Maybe Mercedes, maybe Volvo, maybe something like that.
Probably something that's a semi-quality vehicle as opposed to a Lada.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Next question to Commander Macmillan from S. Welsh Comer. There's that famous Lenin quote, probe with bayonets. If you encounter moosh, proceed. If you encounter steel, withdraw. Give me a break. When are we going to steel up?
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, but you know, it's politics, and politicians are
Adverse to
looking at
escalation.
a larger world than you are with that
Yeah.
statement. I'm
Yeah.
not criticizing. I agree with you 100%.
Same.
But you know, there are political costs to stealing up, and politicians, let's be honest, like, you know, anybody, they're more concerned with getting reelected or protecting their own jobs than they are about the larger picture.
Yeah. Yeah, the reference to cars is NAFO, Estonia. Now I get it. Their bases, basically NAFO comes out of Estonia, except, you know,
okay,
that's
gotcha.
what the reference was. Now I understand. Yeah. Okay, I'm surprised I didn't put that together, actually, you know.
Look, a plane.
Yeah. It's a bird. It's a No, that was a bird. Okay.
Yeah.
I am seeing right now that Ukraine has been asking for motorbikes. They're saying they're much, at this point, they're much more effective.
Huh.
a smaller target for a drone. But Ukraine, it depends. On some parts of the front, you need motorbikes. On some, you need cars. On some, you need armored vehicles. It just depends on the situation. The battlefield is very diverse, and the reaction is like minute by minute.
Yeah.
And it changes all the time.
How come nobody's using segways at the front?
By the way, I read that they are being used at the front. So again,
no, don't tell me that.
100%. I read, and I've seen the photos. I've seen photos.
I want to see Paul Bart Malcott with an M16. You know.
All right. Well, next question from Liam Wakefield. How does Putin have spare troops when he can't get the job done in Ukraine with what he has there?
Yeah, with the whole
manpower. He's got man. That's the thing that Putin does have is manpower
and stupidity.
Exactly. That's the only, like, you're never going to have shortage of manpower. You're never going to overcome or win Russia on manpower. There's an endless stream of volunteers. Russia buys them with money. They offer them very good contracts. And they understand that these people will die like in the first week or so. So they don't actually pay them money. They do a sign-up bonus. So their wives and mothers, we've seen those videos, they actually pressure their husbands and sons, go to war.
So they can get a ham.
There's a flip side to that, which we've commented on before, which is that the sign-up bonuses are so high that people who are working in war industry factories and such are departing to go to the front because they make more than twice as much if they go to the front. So the factories are having to cut shifts when they're supposed to be running, 3 shifts, 24-hour production. They're down to the point where they can barely meet the shift requirements for manpower for a single shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
But, by the way, speaking adjacently on that topic, we do have an anniversary this week. Ukraine killed 1,100,000 of those never-ending Ruskies running across the battlefield. Yeah, we just crossed 1,100,000 last night.
Wow.
Impressive.
Big number.
I don't like celebrating deaths, but this is really a statistic, as Stalin would say. So it doesn't matter.
That's right. Yeah. I'm not seeing 1,100,000 people. I just enjoy the numbers.
Commander Macmillan, if I give you $1,000 or no, I'm
I've done that one before. You're not tricking me twice.
How wealthy are you?
I don't have $1,000 because I know what Commander Macmillan is gonna say. It's a safe bet.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of super chats coming in that goes with the conversation. But first one from SSW saying West Coast is best coast. I agree. Support Ukraine. Yes, please do. Next one's from Papa Dutch. Either Russian aircraft are so bad now that their entire avionics suite is non-mission capable, or their pilots so untrained they don't know how to turn them. I don't buy either.
I think what's happened is that the Russians have kind of realized that employing aircraft on the front lines is far too costly, so they're not doing that much more anymore. And so the aircraft are kind of being saved and reserved, or being used as missile launch platforms from far enough away that they're not in danger of being taken down by a Patriot or whatever. So they have enough in reserve, so to speak, that if it came to a conflict with NATO, they'd be able to put up some opposition for a while, but I think the statement is correct that the avionics are deteriorating because the technicians and the spare parts they need to keep the aircraft at prime efficiency aren't there anymore. The pilots aren't getting a lot of training time, etc. So yeah, it all adds up.
Next is Papa Dutch saying, my guess is 3 of their hotshots tried to sneak through when too lazy to file a flight plan. Yeah. And then a better question from Papa Dutch as well. Thank you. Will Russia turn Trump off?
They have a remote control and they can just turn the bot off.
God, I wish that were true.
Oh, yeah.
I would say the compromise that they have on him, possibly the Epstein files, is
No, we're not allowed to talk about those anymore. Talk about something else, you know.
Right.
Mergers of large media organizations. That's far more important. Yeah. No,
we don't want to get canceled, okay?
Oh no, I'm serious. I think that's what's going on. Is they're looking desperately for anything to distract the public from the Epstein situation. Still, even though it's kind of sunk out of sight, and then it's a page 2 item, they're still scared to death of what'll happen if that comes out. Yeah,
it's hilarious how they literally campaigned on getting those files released, only to see them and go, "Oh shit, we can't let that out." I'm just.
Also, Papa Dutch says Trump isn't a leader; he is a blockage. To the cankles.
Where's my Metamucil?
And then Papa Dutch also says, I'd spend 1,000 just to get a good view. I'm trying to see what.
Burn, baby, burn.
Okay, and now we're catching up. Papa Dutch is really amazing today.
He's drunk.
He's saying, motorbikes like Lada, you don't want a clunko cycle, but a fast enduro bike is an alien thing.
Yeah. Now that people have heard that Ukrainians are looking for like motorbikes and stuff, don't start ordering those cheap Chinese things on Amazon and sending them over. Nobody wants that crap. It's gotta, gotta be a good one, right?
Send those to Russia, because for Russia it's a one-way trip.
Yeah. Donate 3-legged donkeys to Russia, but for Ukraine, we need Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, KTM. You get the idea here, right?
Donkeys are actually very effective on the front line, and Russia doesn't deserve donkeys. Donkeys are better than Russia.
Donkeys are nice animals.
Yeah.
I did say 3-legged ones.
Even with 3 legs,
okay.
Still better.
Okay. Shout out from over here. We got Stephen Walsh in again with a $26 Canadian donation in there. He says, I wanted to share a channel. At the Kitchen Cosmonaut did a fantastic tour of the Prevost Market. At the Kitchen Cosmonaut. Okay. I don't know that one. That's I'll check it out. I'll get the link out too for you there, Steve, so everybody can get it in the live chat. Awesome. Cool. See if I can figure this out. Go ahead there, Slavy. I'll find the link for everybody here.
Okay. Well, we have a good question to Commander McMillan from It Wasn't Me. Is it true that interception of Russian fighter jets only means they get accompanied by NATO jets in their air until they decide to fly away themselves?
Right. I mean, because the ROE right now, ROE is rules of engagement. The rules of engagement would say you cannot shoot at a Russian aircraft unless it shoots at you first. So the Russians, I'm presuming here, but this is an educated guess, they're doing these incursions into NATO airspace just to see how NATO reacts and to make us all nervous, so we spend more money, shoring up the NATO borders and less of that going straight to Ukraine.
Right.
So it's an effective form of economic warfare. I suppose that's the way you could interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Commander Macmillan, do you ever see NATO taking preventative measures instead of just being purely, if attacked, we're defending ourselves?
Yeah, always reactionary.
Yeah.
Well, it's designed as that. The NATO alliance is a defensive alliance. It's not one where, for example, and I'm not saying they do this, but I'm just saying, for example, it's not an alliance where Poland decides it really doesn't like Belarus and attacks Belarus. You don't want to drag all of Europe into helping somebody in an aggressive war. It's a defensive alliance, and by its nature, that means they're going to be reacting to what the Russians do rather than being preemptive and saying, okay, the moment we see a Russian aircraft turning towards NATO airspace, we're going to shoot it down. No, we don't want to do that, because that provokes a war, and that's not what NATO wants. It's not what it's structured for.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combined cooperative defense treaty, and that's what it does. So yeah, you're not going to see NATO starting to get preemptive. It's just not in its nature.
Yes, only in my dreams.
Yeah,
exactly.
Next question we have from Broadcast Cat. NATO Article 6, an armed attack is covered if it occurs in Europe or North America.
Again, an armed attack.
Okay.
It's covered.
Sounds like Article 5. Yeah, but again, notice the terminology. Armed attack. That means the Russians would have to be firing on something in NATO or North American territory. Thus far, they've not done that. They've intruded across the border, but it hasn't been a demonstrably hostile action. And I know we can quibble over the definition there, but the way the alliance structure works is the Russian MiGs that intruded over Estonian airspace, unless they actually shot at an oil platform or a ship or an airplane or something, they're not committing a hostile action. So we being NATO, are within our rights to say, hi, notice we are right behind you with our missiles armed at you, but we're not shooting. We're asking you politely, go away. That's what NATO does.
Gotcha.
So I'm looking it up. NATO Article 6 defines the geographical scope of the Article 5, basically. So it's just specifying that armed attack triggering mutual defense must occur in Europe, North America, on the Algerian Department of France, on the territory of Turkey, on the islands in the North Atlantic, Tropic of Cancer, or on the forces or vessels of the party in these regions of the Mediterranean Sea. So that's just an expansion of the Article 5.
I strongly suspect that the mention of Algeria being a department of France's legacy from when it was. It's no longer. Algeria is an independent country, and I'm sure that, that's not covered by the treaty any longer.
Possibly.
Next question we have from Tim Moments. Did any of the panel followed up on the Brave One Tech Valley? I did not. I don't know.
Brave One Tech Valley?
Yeah, I'm not
I'm sorry, I have no idea what that is.
I think maybe, my guess is maybe a Ukrainian tech expo. Let us know, Tim.
Yeah, it was some kind of defense expo.
Yep.
I think it was in Lviv. and it's basically second edition of Europe's flagship dual-use tech investment summit.
My Google
I did
search
not
merely tells
follow.
me it's apartments in Massachusetts.
So it happened, it's just concluded. It was on September 16th, 17th in Lviv, just 2 days ago. And it was 5,000 tech users, developers, and decision makers from 40 countries, just talking about the battle-proven innovations and shaping the future of global defense. I did not follow on that. I have no idea.
I was aware there was a meeting of that sort taking place, but I have not been monitoring what it does. And I didn't know
It's a
that was
good-
the main thing.
It's a good thing that it's happening, and Ukraine seems to be at the forefront of the global defense conversation.
Yeah, I will say this, that eventually, once the war concludes, Ukraine is going to be able to make a lot of money selling technology to Western countries who want to improve their own militaries. They are so far ahead of everybody in terms of drone tech right now.
Yeah, and all the strategy and stuff that goes along with it and whatnot. Yeah.
Battle tested.
Mm-hmm.
Well, next question is great, something that needs to be talked about. It's from It Wasn't Me, asking, could you please discuss the consequences of the U.S. lifting sanctions on the Belarusian airline for Russia?
I didn't. Wow, I didn't even know that. Jesus Christ.
I think got Trump lifted it last week, I believe.
I don't know that Belarusian Airlines is, that big a money producer, but okay.
Well, it's a way to get whatever Russia needs to kind of evade the sanctions.
Well, yeah.
So whatever Russia needs is
if you're able to fly, Belarusian Aeroflot in to bring stuff that you buy from the West in a cargo plane, it's not going to get inspected and fined, prevented from flying because it's now no longer sanctioned.
Yeah.
I'm sure that relaxing that particular sanction, there's some sort of financial quid pro quo occurring to a certain orange tinted bank account.
Yeah. Exactly.
Some crypto, probably. Coins.
Oh no, never happened.
I have a little bit of a fun news article if you want me to read it really quick. It's about Russia. Commander Macmillan was talking about it when Russia sold S-400 systems, anti-air defense systems, to Turkey. Last week, Russia offered to buy them back. And this is according, this is according to the Turkish resource Nefes. They want to buy back the C-400 type anti-aircraft missile system that were sold to Turkey several years ago. Ankara, capital of Turkey, for its part, is also ready to discuss this issue as it wants to achieve the lifting of American sanctions that followed Turkey's purchase of C-400 or S-400 as it's called in Ruski language. Moscow explains the desire to buy back these systems so they will resell them to other countries and make maybe more money.
They won't use them themselves.
No
they
sense.
would never do
that. Exactly. But according to experts, and hopefully Commander Macmillan can chime in on that, Moscow actually is running out of anti-air defenses due to what Ukraine is doing, and they just need them really badly on the battlefronts.
Yeah. The word desperately, I think, would be the one I would apply.
How desperate do you have to be?
And this gets into a really messy situation because the Turks bought the S-400 because we wouldn't sell them Patriot, I think, or maybe it was the F-35. I don't remember the exact thing that caused it. And then we got mad at the Turks, so we applied sanctions on them because they bought a Russian system. And now the Turks want to get rid of that so they can get those sanctions lifted, so they can buy certain systems back. And Turkey's really less concerned about what's going on with, Russia and Ukraine than they are with their own situation vis-a-vis Greece.
Right.
So it's a very messy set of equations of what should be done and who should do it. And it's...
Yeah.
I didn't know that America imposed sanctions on Turkey for purchasing S-400. But that's good, I guess.
Yeah. It wasn't a sanction per se, I suppose, but it was, okay, because you've bought the S-400, we're not going to sell you the following military systems because we're concerned that then you would leak information about them to the Russians. What it really is no, we're just punishing you for buying a Russian system.
Yeah. Just to quickly get in, it's 10 minutes until 2:00 Pacific time here. So we've got 10 minutes.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly. We've got 10-minute warning here. Okay.
Well, we have a
carriage is gonna turn into a pumpkin.
My dog might.
Yeah. So a couple more questions then, and then we'll just do thoughts and wrap-ups, I guess.
Sure. Next up is a question from the real Vladimir Putin. Whatever happened to UN peacekeeping forces? I'm laughing because useless.
You need to understand the difference between peacekeeping, peace enforcement, and I can't remember the term, but it's basically brokering a peace. So UN is not going to send in peacekeepers until peace is in effect. And before they send in peacekeepers, they need to ensure that both sides are honoring whatever the arrangement that was made that brought peace. That's peace enforcement. And I think peace enforcement would be important because in this situation, because let's assume that part of the deal that's arranged is, Russia vacates, let's say, Donetsk. And I know that they're going to be stay behind Russian special operations forces that are going to be staging attacks. So peace enforcement is preventing those attacks from occurring. And only once things are totally secure can you bring in the peacekeepers. And each nation that participates in these operations brings certain things to the table. So a country like, let's say, I'm just pulling this out of my stinky hole. Let's say Ecuador decides they want to be peacekeepers. Okay. They're not able to necessarily be peace enforcers. So you have to get a country that's got the technology and the training with their military forces to be able to do that. So somebody like, say, Canada. Canada's got people that are trained for that level of operation. So before the Ecuadorians can come in, the Canadians need to come in. And
we hear up in our news, we always hear Canadian peacekeepers, Canadian peace. We've done a lot of that. Yeah.
And I'll be honest. When I was at Staff and Command College, the Canadians were always held up as like the pinnacle of peacekeeping and peace enforcement forces.
And being able to drink at night.
Huh?
And being able to drink at night.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole point I'm trying to get at here. Is certain countries bring certain things to the table. So unless you can get enough people who are competent at peace enforcement to come in, you're not going to get any peacekeepers coming in. It's a very complex timeline before those kind of things can be put into effect. That's all I can really say to them.
Big shout out here before we do the next one. We still got a couple of minutes. We got YOLO Swaggins in the live chat there with a big boom. $100 direct donation in for the Car for Ukraine Fund. All right. Huge thanks, YOLO. Thank you very much. Have a couple of more sound effects on me. Very cool. Nice, nice. I'll put that into the fund right away here.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much. Then we have another question from S. Walshcomer. And is it time to revise NATO charters to accommodate the abusiveness of the terrorists? Last year, China and Russia had a joint flotilla to Alaska, plus jets. So when?
It's the best way I can put this is NATO is a fragile alliance, and people don't really understand or appreciate that. And it's able to hold together because everybody in the alliance can look at the situation as governed by the charter right now, which is, collective defense. If an attack on one is an attack on others, everybody comes to my aid. The moment you start tweaking that into a more active role, then you're going to start getting people to say, no, this isn't an alliance I want to be part of anymore. And then it becomes a much more precarious situation for everybody. So yeah, it'd be nice to have NATO sit down and decide, okay, once you've crossed the line of X type or number of, excuse me, humanitarian transgressions, okay, you're killing widows and orphans or something, that means we can intervene. It'd be nice if you could put that in effect, but the reality is a lot of countries would balk at that and say, if that goes into the NATO charter, I'm not going to say part of NATO anymore.
Right.
And the more countries that drop out of NATO, the less robust and effective NATO becomes.
Yeah. And in the modern era, now we've got the possibility of them going to the Legion of Doom and the BRICS thing and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Seems like NATO is only good for when your country is not being attacked or under any danger. But when your country, even if it's part of NATO, is in danger, NATO is like,
Yes.
No, I mean, look at Estonia, for example. That's a perfect case in point. Who intercepted those Russian aircraft that intruded? Italians.
Yeah.
And who directed those aircraft to do the intercept? Probably, I don't know, the last time when the drones crossed in, it was, I think, a Danish AWACS aircraft or something that did it. So the alliance works for what it's designed to do. And the sad reality for Ukraine is they weren't in the alliance when this started.
Yeah.
And I think you could say many, perhaps most, but certainly not all, NATO members right now would love to be able to extend NATO protections to Ukraine.
Right.
But they can't do so without jeopardizing the existence of the alliance, because other countries would say, sorry, I don't want to get involved in this mess. You guys aren't doing what I want anymore.
Right.
also another good point last night is actually NATO needs Ukraine now because Ukraine has a battle-tested army. They have the tech, they have the drones. So things are switching around. NATO needs Ukraine. Probably
absolutely.
more.
And I think it even goes further than that. It goes into a position of, if you are going to have an aggressive Russia, then having Ukraine as a NATO member puts you in a position where NATO now poses a greater threat to Russia, so that if they actually trigger a NATO response, they've kind of already lost the war before it even begins. You see what my logic is there?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I agree that Ukraine being part of NATO is probably more beneficial to NATO than them not being part of NATO.
Mhm.
But it's getting them in given the current context of the world situation.
Slavy, any shout outs you need to do? We're just hitting the 2:00 mark.
I do.
Figured.
Papa Dutch comes in with a super chat saying, a bike has enough problems without two guys riding double in full gear.
Even one guy in full gear might.
Yeah.
Another
I
one from
think last time I heard it, the average U.S. soldiers' combat loadout is 80 pounds.
Holy.
Yeah. Now put that in addition to the guy's body weight.
Yeah.
On an average bicycle, as opposed to something specifically designed for military use, you can see the problems are going to develop pretty quick.
Yeah. You'd almost need to redesign the motorcycle so that you could sit a lot lower to keep that center of gravity down. So it's a more stable thing to ride on, right?
You know the image I have in my mind? There's like a motorcycle and there's like a sidecar that you can like clip on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
The person just sits there.
Go look at pictures from World War II with the German army. They had lots of motorcycles. It was a very effective means of transportation for like couriers or reconnaissance units, that kind of thing.
We have another super chat from Papa Dutch saying, so a drone crashing in Poland and destroying a home, even if not armed, is not an attack. Marvelous, he says. He states drilly.
Poland could have classified it as an attack and asked for an Article 5 as opposed to an Article 4. They didn't.
Yeah.
That tells you all you need to know about the situation.
Yeah. People are very scared to be the one to do it.
They're deathly afraid of World War III breaking out.
Yeah.
By the way,
everybody knows what Russian doctrine is.
Yeah.
Russia has been threatening Poland insane. I mean, nuclear threats. There's also something like wild, like they said, at least Ukrainians are our people. Poles, not our people. So imagine what we're gonna do to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh
yeah, I've heard that.
Somebody's coming down the stairs. I can hear that somebody in the house here with me knows it's 2:00 and our time is up. Yeah, we better kick in. So let's let Slavy finish any shout outs and stuff.
Staring at me too.
Yeah, exactly. We're under the wire here.
Yeah, then S. Walshcomer saying, but there were armed attacks on NATO, threat of terrorism. In the early 2000s, all those things were met to activate NATO. After 9/11 attack, United States activated, the only time it was ever activated, Article 5.
Yep.
And then Papa Dutch saying, study this. Russia cannot nuke Ukraine. They can't.
Why?
I agree. I think, I mean, if Russia nukes anyone or anything, they're done. They're too done for. And I mean,
I agree.
Nobody has
sure
to
that
nuke
NATO
Russia
is,
back.
I'm sure that NATO through back channel communications told the Russians point blank, if you cross the nuclear threshold in Ukraine, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And the West doesn't even need to nuke Russia back. They have two cities, Moscow and St. Petersburg, to get rid of most of their I mean, a lot of missiles, big ones, but
I heard that China was also telling Russia, when Russia was talking about this potentially nuking Ukraine, China was telling Russia not to do it for their own reasons.
Makes sense. You know. Any last ones there, Slavi?
No, that was it from me for now.
Okay.
Thank you all so much, by the way. That was amazing.
Very, yes. Yeah. And we're caught up here. So I want to just take us around. We'll say our goodbyes and hit some buttons.
Yeah, for sure. Commander Macmillan, any final thoughts on this past week's events?
Not really. I think we've covered a lot of, the Ukraine update events that we need to. I would say that in the coming week, I would look for the possibility of further Russian probes, be it drones, aircraft, what have you, ships violating NATO territorial waters, who knows. I think this is all an effort on Russia's part to make NATO and Europe look at their own situation rather than at the Ukraine situation. And this is fairly effective without a huge amount of risk for the Russians to pursue. So I think that's what you should watch out for. Other than that, my usual wrap up, urging people to keep communicating with your elected officials. Tell them that the situation in Ukraine is important to you and you want aid to continue flowing.
Damn right.
Other than that, have a great week.
Great. Thank you so much, Commander. And Johnny, any final thoughts on this past week's events?
The week was just full of just awesome things that Ukraine did on the battlefield and just strategically all around Russia. The world is kind of waking up. But my favorite thing that happened this week comes from a Russian meal blogger, Maxim Kalashnikov. As far as Russian meal bloggers go, he's like the worst. He's just a horrible human being, if he can even be called that. However, this week he looked in a camera and he said the following thing. Unfortunately, we have to admit that we won't be able to adjoin Ukraine to our territory. He had a very sad face when he said this. Reasons: Russia doesn't have enough force to conquer or subjugate Ukraine. He was almost crying. And Russians need to come to the terms that Ukraine will exist as an independent state and Ukrainians will remain Ukrainians. So that's just amazing. And more power to you, Maxim Kalashnikov. Keep spreading the good word, keep spreading the good message. And Ukraine will be Ukraine. And I think that's awesome that we're raising money for that car. Let's keep doing that. And let's do that. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
Thanks. I'll shorten my conclusion, but
it's all right.
But no, for Papa Dutch, another last super chat coming through, asking how much does Putin have to do with Trump versus Argentina? Not sure. Anyways, thank you so much, Papa Dutch.
That one.
Yeah.
That's an entire separate show from Ukraine update.
Yeah,
I'd say. But this week reminds us that while Ukraine dismantles Russia's war machine refinery by refinery, drone by drone, NATO's line in the sand may be getting brighter, hopefully. The danger isn't just in the missiles, it's in the letting 19 drones in Poland and 3 hypersonic MiGs over Estonia feel normal. The danger is pretending this war stops at Ukraine's border. But conversations like today cut through that noise. This fight is bigger than maps. It's about the truth we defend. It's about the freedoms we refuse to lose. And it's about the future we will not hand over to dictators. So if you're here, you're already part of that fight. Please don't forget to subscribe to all of our channels. If you're new here, like the streams, like all our content, and share it. Subscribe. And to everyone in the live chat, you guys are incredible. Thank you so much to all the super chats, mods. You guys came through. There's a bunch of you. Thank you so much for helping with all the questions. And yeah, I feel really, really lucky to have all of you come out and watch this the streams. And also, thank you so much for donating to Ukrainian charities for the cars. Very, very important. And simply showing up week after week. Thank you. You're not just watching live streams, you're helping truth win. You're helping Ukraine win. So we'll see you next time right here where the truth gets the last word. And don't forget to be brave like Ukraine. On that note, God bless America and Slava Ukraini.
Heroam Slava.
Pan Slava.
It's over. Go home. Go.